Let the blow fall, soon or late. Let what will be o'er me give the face of earth around, and the road before me. Wealth I seek not, hope nor love, nor a friend to know me. All I seek, the heaven above, and the road below. Lifeline of the nation. 14 million truckers, 4.8 million trucks. $67 million tons of cargo transported every day. 36 hours, non-stop on the road. Where death lurks at every turn. Only one source of relief. Carriers of life and death. Highway in my veins. Truckers in India. India, a country of 1 billion people, an economic powerhouse. Driving this massive economy, feeding millions day and night, are the truckers of India. It all begins here. This is the depot, or the mandi as they call it. Here, all the trucks load the supplies they need to transport to the various parts of the country. The journey begins here. A journey where millions of truck drivers set off on the unending highways, just to ensure that a nation can live. Durga is one of the 14 million trucker community who run the show. Durga is 42 years old and has been a trucker for 20 years. He has a family of 3 kids. His wife takes care of them when he's away on the highways of India. For Durga, it all started when he was rather young. With no other career opportunities, the desire to explore the greener pastures of the faraway lands was very strong. The lore of the truck driver fascinated him.
I have spent my childhood as an orphan. I was very poor. Even getting 2 square meals a day was not easy. I often had to sleep hungry. I was very young and used to work in roadside hotels. This went on till I was 15 years old.
15 साल तक तो व्यतीत करा यहाँ मैं होटल में नौकरी करता
Trucks
था
used to halt at the roadside hotel where I worked.
ट्रक वगैरह
I was friendly to some drivers and conductors who frequented our hotel. I thought that being a truck driver is a great job. You get to go out and see the world. I wanted to do all of that. I was a kid then and I wanted to see the cities of Mumbai, Kolkata and Guwahati. These simple dreams as a young boy made me a truck driver.
बचपन की वो नादानियाँ मेरे को इस लाइन पे लिया ही ज़्यादातर
Durga and his brethren travel the length and breadth of the country. From the bare, rugged mountain ranges of Ladakh, through the deserts of Rajasthan, the lush forests of central India, to the silken beaches on either side of the peninsula. From teeming cities to the small towns and sleepy villages. Day and night, more than 4.8 million trucks ply ceaselessly on hundreds of arterial highways and roads of the country, connecting it, making it one, making India what it is, united despite its incredible variety. Like Durga, about 14 million other truckers risk their lives every day in the most uncomfortable physical conditions to keep India's economy alive. They are, in fact, one of the largest workforces in the country. They carry more than 67 million tons of cargo each day. This is more than 70% of all cargo that is transported in India. From life-saving drugs and automobile parts to green grocery and garbage, they transport anything, anywhere. Just like Leh Ladakh, at the northernmost tip of India, it is the highest inhabited region in the world. Here, trucks are the only means of transporting life-sustaining cargo. Without truckers like Durga, the economy of India would collapse.
बहुत सी जगह ऐसी कि यहाँ
There are so many places which are not connected by railway. Trucks are the only means to carry cargo. If at all we go on a strike, the government would not know how to run the country.
Several demands are fulfilled. Several needs are satisfied. Because these truckers forfeit countless days and countless nights. Nights on the roads can be long and dreary, and trucks rule the highways when the world sleeps. They cover huge distances at night. There is life around them, but not everywhere. Most of the times, these are just roads in the middle of nowhere. Driving non-stop for 18 hours can be backbreaking, and adding to the woes, highways have very little to endow the truckers with. Amidst the dearth, food is on high priority. Highway dabas, or roadside hotels, are the oases of the highways, which cater to the bare minimum that the trucker needs. This is where they can procure immediate relief, day or night, rest, open-air bath and toilet, opium, alcohol, and more. away from the monotony of the highway, many truckers form casual partners on their journeys. Others visit sex workers who are based along the highway. Over the years, entire communities and villages along the most frequented routes have turned sex work into a flourishing industry that caters to such travelers. Truckers are their biggest customers. Durga has a couple of drinks, a wad of opium, and, if he so desires, a small piece of heaven in his weary world. No tender caress, no gentle whispers. Just a fleeting encounter with passion, and a few rupees exchanged.
ज़्यादातर 75%
More than 75% of drivers, when they meet the prostitutes or call girls who are based along the highways,
मन जो है
I mean, the heart, basically, most truck drivers give in to the temptation.
These women are mostly from the surrounding countryside. Old and young, they come to the dhabas to make a bit of money to feed their families. They have no control over whether their clients will wear condoms or not, even if they are asked to. They may charge the equivalent of $2 to $3 for each customer. And, given the poverty of most of rural parts of India, it's easy money. These highways are the breeding grounds of the AIDS epidemic. It is difficult to estimate the exact number of HIV-positive truckers, but the figure is anything between 7 to 15% of the entire trucker community, or between 700,000 to a staggering 1 million carriers. What is more alarming is the fact that lack of proper research, data, and adequate monitoring systems only make these statistics higher.
There would be around 14 million truck drivers in this country. Of these, around 4 million would be driving on the long distances, and of these figures, I must say, if you look at these figures, around 7% would be HIV infected, and if you calculate it, it would be somewhere around 3 lakh people who would be infected.
Ironically, while transporting thousands of tons of food and life-saving medicines, the truckers are also the unwitting carriers of the dreaded HIV/AIDS virus to distant parts of the country. Since most of these encounters are unprotected, the chances of high-risk behavior leading to the transmission of HIV/AIDS are critically high. With such easy mobility, truckers are capable of taking HIV/AIDS to any part of the country within days, even to those who are least aware of it. By the end of May 2005, the total number of HIV/AIDS cases reported in India was 5.134 million. Many more went unreported.
Most of the cases in this country among the truck drivers go unreported because there is a lot of stigma which is attached, and the second thing is that the awareness among truck drivers, which has increased recently, has to contribute in this, because awareness level is low, so people don't actually come up and show.
Surinder was one of those whose case was reported. He got married at the age of 30. For the first few years after his marriage, he did not visit sex workers. But his resolve soon broke.
Hello, sir.
How are you doing, Surinder?
I'm fine.
You're not running fever anymore?
No.
Are you back on your job of truck driver?
No, I have not gone back till now.
Surinder visits the hospital on a regular basis for a medical checkup. He was diagnosed as HIV positive over a year ago.
When I went to a sex worker for the first time, I was 25 and was not married. I had made up my mind to stop going to sex workers after marriage. Sometimes drivers don't come back home for a year. They don't have any sense of belonging. Most of the time they live on the truck, on the roads. You get these girls on the highways. One gets tempted. One gives in.
हाईवे पे मिल जाती हैं तो वो भी दिल कर जाता है ट्रेन से।
Surinder is one of those whose luck ran out, and he has paid a very heavy price. He drove a truck for 12 years before his blood turned to poison inside him. He does not know what the future holds for him, and the past still haunts him.
चले जाते थे पहले 3-4 बार भी।
Earlier, I used to go to the sex workers 3 to 4 times on one trip.
उसके बाद
After marriage, I went to them less often.
Life for Surinder and his family will never be the same again. Surinder's wife is the innocent victim of his mistakes. He has 2 children who have not been tested, as Surinder and his wife are too scared to find out what the results may be.
मैं अपने बेटे को ट्रक ड्राइवर
I don't want my son to become a truck driver.
वो जीवन पर
I don't want them to go through all the hardships that I had to go through.
वो ना गुजरे।
Most truckers know about the dangers of HIV/AIDS, yet they pick up highway sex workers. Why? The reasons are perhaps not one, but a complex set of factors. What are the problems that entice truckers to indulge in high-risk behavior?
Truck drivers face a lot of problems on the highways. I would say that their whole life is frustrating. I'm saying once you are into this profession, it's a very, very frustrating profession, because the kind of roads you are driving on, the kind of cabin you are sitting in, the kind of driving conditions you have.
Driving through more than 1,000 miles across India's undulating terrain is a risky job, fraught with many dangers. For a pithy salary equivalent to $60 a month, which has not changed in the last 10 years, like many others, Durga continues day after day on this thankless duty. And yet, when he is on the road, Durga is solely responsible for several tons of cargo, that cost up to thousands of dollars.
हाँ यहाँ से निकलने के बाद बाहर
After we load our trucks, we are solely responsible for the cargo and the truck.
और जो गाड़ी में माल
The truck itself is worth 1.3 million rupees. We have to ensure that the cargo reaches safely at the destination. Even if we get robbed on the highway, we have to bear the losses. It gets cut from our pocket.
पेटी उतार ली तो उसका ही पैसा हमारे ऊपर ही कटना है.
For the kind of responsibility that Durga shoulders, he feels that the respect and remuneration he is owed are sorely deficient. Most drivers drive alone, often for 16 to 20 hours at a stretch, and are on the road for most of the month. What makes it even more punishing while driving for thousands of miles on endless highways is this cramped, ergonomically disastrous 4x6 feet cabin, the design of which has not been changed since the Second World War. The seats are hard and the temperature is at the mercy of the elements. And yet, with the screaming sound of his engine, overburdened by overloading, Durga carries on to meet mind-numbing deadlines. Highway robbery is not just a phrase in the lives of Indian truckers. It's real. Durga's most tense moments arrive while traveling through remote areas at night. In several such places where access to facilities is limited, locals take to organized crime. Such stretches are terror zones for commercial travelers like truckers. Not only can they lose their cargo, they can also lose their lives.
खतरे कई हैं उसमें अब कील लगा.
There are many dangers on the road. These highway robbers block the road, use iron nails, cut the ropes and run away with the cargo. There are some drivers who have just vanished. There was a driver called Shankar. His truck and even his body have never been found. Government has given us the police for protection, but the cops are also involved with the criminals. No one is on our side. It is not that the cops are not aware of what is going on. No one even listens to us. The cops are never on our side. There is no point.
मतलब ही नहीं है.
Durga's vicinity is isolated. A puncture on a 40-ton truck means a lot of trouble.
The truck got loaded in 2 shifts. I told you to make sure that the load is evenly balanced. But most of the weight is towards the rear. It's all empty in the front. If you can't even get a truck loaded, then tell me that you can't do it. Iron is loaded in the truck and it is not even balanced. Thank God it's just a puncture. I feared much worse. I was praying that we reach safely. Now we are stranded in the middle of nowhere.
Durga's helper inevitably bears the brunt of his frustration.
I treat you like my child. If you can't handle a simple job, then tell me. I'll do it myself.
Durga carries on with nothing inspiring but mounting frustrations. Amongst the worst nightmares of truckers on Indian roads are lurking policemen and petty officials of the Road Transport Office, or RTO. Each state has its own RTO checkposts to implement regulations in the road transport sector. They are supposed to track the number of trucks entering and leaving the state and check their papers. But this is far from what really happens.
Time is money in transport. For truck drivers, the biggest thing is movement. When the RTOs get down on the roads, they have to stop. That's the problem. Apart from harassment part of it, the biggest harassment for a truck driver is to stop somewhere on the highway because he has to deliver goods within a stipulated time.
Every truck that crosses an RTO checkpost is liable to be checked and faulted. Large amounts of money are exchanged as bribe to let such trucks off at these checkposts. Durga knows that he or any other trucker can never refuse to pay. The consequences of a refusal are dire.
The biggest problem in our lives is the RTO. The cops with the RTO are worse than the highway robbers. They beat us up and show no mercy without any reason. They punch us, they slap us, they sometimes use rods to beat us up badly.
What Durga finds most exasperating are frequent and long traffic jams. Anything can cause a jam, from bad road conditions to erratic traffic in smaller towns.
देखिए गुरशीत की बहुत ही हल्के हाथों से खेला था और अपने ऑफ साइड में खेल दिया और उसी के साथ ही ओवर की समाप्ति 3 विकेट पर तय था।
What is certain is the painful and endless wait that can last anywhere from an hour to a day and a half.
मन बहुत बोर हो जाता है, ऐसा नहीं है कि
We just get tired of driving and being on the road all the time. Nobody wants to do it. Every driver, at least 90% of them who have reached my age and has an option, wants to quit. Those who are young, say 20 to 25 years old, can still manage. But once you touch 40, you have had enough of all this. We have spent so much time in this profession. We are totally fed up. We just want to quit. But what can we do? We have no other option. No other option at all.
Deprived of a sense of belonging, Durga's only companions on the highway are his loneliness and the monotony of the road. Sleep is his biggest enemy on the road, and one that is constantly lurking at the turn of every moment.
हमारे बड़े ट्रकों के जो भी एक्सीडेंट रोड पे होते हैं,
Most of the accidents involving trucks take place at around 4 to 5 a.m. All drivers feel sleepy after 3 in the morning. They get bouts of sleep. But most of them don't stop. They take opium and go on driving. Opium is not like alcohol. We take it as it helps us staying awake. Opium also keeps us fresh and active.
The only solution that Durga has for this is opium.
फर्स्ट बार जब खाया तो
The first time when I took opium, I felt energetic and young and drove non-stop for 36 hours. I started taking opium for fun and now I'm addicted to it. It is the first thing that I need to take in the morning after I've freshened up.
खाना ही खाना है हमको.
It is a solution that has been passed down through generations of truckers over the last 100 years. Opium is a banned substance in India, but for Durga and other truckers, finding and purchasing it is as simple as buying a packet of cigarettes. Though he knows that he could be arrested for possessing it, he also feels it is critical to his job, particularly when time is in low supply.
वो तो मंडी कर रहा
A driver has to meet the deadline, otherwise he loses money. That's why drivers have to consume opium.
– 50% of all accidents that occur on Indian roads involve trucks. While sleep is one of the major causes of truck-related accidents, the other biggest cause is overloading. Based on size, all trucks have a loading limit. exceeding this limit is not only illegal, it is also dangerous. Despite the clear and present danger, and regardless of the law, like all other drivers, Durga is forced to overload his truck. While it puts his life at risk, this is a decision that does not lie with him. Since trucking is completely privatized with no guarantees from the government, it is highly inconsistent. If Durga refuses, there are many others to quickly replace him.
ड्राइवरों की किसी की चॉइस
No driver wants to overload his truck. I'm saying 90% of drivers want to avoid overloading their trucks. It's a big problem for the drivers. The police and the RTO harass the drivers. The efficiency of the engine goes down. One gets tired.
The size of the truck has remained same for last 45, 50, 60 years. But the amount of load, the cargo has increased. So they are under pressure. Plus other things have happened, like fuel costs have gone up, the competition has come, the bribe rates have gone up. So they have to cut down to make that margin viable to them, the profits. They have to overload.
A trucker takes a chance every day, almost from the moment he turns on the ignition. The rate of fatal accidents on the Indian roads is one of the highest in the world. A whopping 10% of road accident fatalities worldwide, over 10 times that in Holland in the UK. If it is so easy to die on the treacherous road, why would Durga or Surinder worry about the chances of getting AIDS, a disease no one quite understands? What has been more damaging is the stigma attached to them of being highway killers, which has virtually taken over their identity. An identity which has invited public ire, suspicion, and mistrust.
हम तो कहते हैं अगर हमारा कोई दुश्मन
I'm saying I would not even advise my biggest enemy or anyone from his family to become a truck driver. We face a lot of problems. Too many problems. Too many.
After a hard day's work, after driving for miles on end, away from their families for months, driving in pathetic driving conditions, and after being harassed by many, truckers turn to alcohol to de-stress at the dhabbas of the highways. As soon as they consume some alcohol, they in a way lose control. And it is at this heat of the moment, when they are tired, dirty, frustrated, that they act carelessly. It is at this point that their carnal instinct takes over and they just want to have sex. It really doesn't matter to him if he's having sex with a woman, man, a eunuch, a boy, or a girl. Least of all if he has a condom or not.
The risk behavior of truck drivers can be attributed to the occupational pressures which they have been, impinged upon them by the sector. Living away from the families for a very, very long time, being marginalized and being frustrated, and then taking it out on somebody
all the truck drivers, there is one thing in common. They feel robbed of the respect that is due to them. Consistently mentally abused by all those that they come in contact with, whether the RTO, the police, the brokers at factories and at halt points, the exploitative transporters, or common folk on city roads. Most truckers end up having a very poor self-image and a poor sense of self-worth. Their sense of manhood is constantly being eroded at every stage in the most humiliating and ruthless manner. Adding to this are the poor conditions of roads, economically disastrous vehicles, which are perennially overloaded, and the absence of any agency to protect their right. For them, HIV/AIDS is just another threat, far less ominous than the horrors of their daily lives on the highways of India. High-risk behavior is not restricted to truck drivers. Many migrant groups reveal similar behavior. What makes the trucker community dangerous is that they are mobile. The problem is complicated. Mired in the quicksand of poverty, social structures, attitudes towards women and sex, illiteracy, ignorance, and apathy. The truck drivers rarely visit hospitals, and instead seek the help of quacks and home remedies to cure sexually transmitted diseases. Most do not even know that HIV/AIDS has no cure. A PSI, Population Services International survey of long-distance truck drivers found that almost a fifth of them never used condoms, while another 70% preferred not to use these. Few drivers knew that there was no cure for HIV/AIDS, or that there is a difference between HIV and AIDS. So who are these truckers anyway? Carriers of life? Highway killers? Drug abusers? Alcoholics? Carriers of HIV/AIDS? Carriers of death. The stigma attached to HIV/AIDS is the most serious.
Studies have been conducted, look into the sexual patterns in India, and what we saw initially was that around 80% of the truck drivers reported that they are having multiple sex partners, and each truck drivers had 40 to 150 partners in each year. Plus, they don't want to use condoms because they have bought sex, and once you buy sex, you can dictate your terms.
These numbers are alarming. People living with HIV/AIDS 2003 in India, 5.1 million. What's mind-boggling is this statistic. If the virus continues to spread at the present rate, within the next 5 years, an estimated 20 to 25 million people will be infected with HIV/AIDS in India alone. More than any other country in the world.
Situation is grim because we have 6 states which are in the concentrated epidemic stage, and rest of the states are following, and we know that our reporting mechanisms are not very authentic, and we have not been able to cover a big population. So I think it's a grim situation, and a few states are now left with a few more years. That's what we call window of opportunity, and then you will see a full-blown AIDS epidemic in this country.
Given the sheer numbers, their mobility, and easy access to the remotest parts of the country, Indian truckers will contribute significantly to the spread of this epidemic. Echoing the deadly role that long-distance freight drivers played in spreading AIDS in Southern and East Africa in the 80s, India is on the cusp of a major AIDS crisis. The number of infected truck drivers means that the disease will continue to spread. India could well become the next Africa. Today, the world sees India as an emerging economic power, and with a population of over 1 billion, the HIV epidemic in India will have a major impact on the overall spread of HIV in Asia and the Pacific, and indeed worldwide. A cloud of uncertainty still hovers threateningly. The present is grim, the future dark. But still, for Durga and a majority of truckers like him, life doesn't hold any meaning beyond the drudgery and dust of the highway. The simple pleasures of life for them are more like the mirage on the highway. They know they are never going to catch it, but they chase it nevertheless. For others like Surinder, who don't even know when fate might close its door on them, life is merely a long look at the rearview mirror from their 6x4 cabin, where destiny subjects them to the harsh reality of watching their own life slipping by, stretch by stretch, minute by minute, into a horizon that has been lost in the tropics of time. But unaware of the silent but deadly companion they carry with them, they continue their journey not knowing where it will end. Carrying hope and life for others on the highways of India.